Welcome in again, everyone. It's the One Burner Bachelor on a chilly, dreary day. 37 steps up, high above the city. A beautiful, perfect day for just some old-fashioned, taste good, things we kind of grew up on, something cheap and delicious. So we're trying something different today. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to make a larger amount for a gang of people that I've got coming over. So I'm using one of the aluminum casserole tins, which is cool, much easier to bake in the oven with them. So what I've done to kind of make sure it doesn't get burned on the bottom or get too hot too quick is I've actually wrapped a couple pieces of foil around the one burner. It'll still generate plenty of heat to get whatever I have in my pan here, things hot and things going. Remember, aluminum foil has no melting point. That's why if you cook on the grill, or no matter how hot you're cooking things, it may burn, but it won't go to a liquid where when it gets too hot it would hurt or do anything to anything that you're cooking. Think about that. If you put the foil on your grill, that's why you do it. If you leave the foil there for years and years and years, eventually it will blacken and eventually burn, but it never gets to a liquid that would damage or put any unsafe gases or steam or anything through your food. Okay. So we've already steamed a little water out of our casserole tin, just to make sure there's no bacteria in there like we always like to do to be safe, because we did use it once before. So what's going on there now is just a little bit more water in the bottom of it, and I'll show you how we're going to make a casserole on the One Burner Bachelor, and it's going to be fabulous. We'll be back. Okay, we're back. What I've started our casserole, I'm just going to call it a casserole now today and not mention the pie tin or the pan or whatever we're doing, is I've added a can of condensed vegetable beef soup. The cheapest, it was 65 cents. And I know it's probably not the greatest product, greatest quality, but if it's out there on the shelves for sale, it has passed whatever safety or goodness regulations there are from those important people that decide on those things. So that's what we've done. We only added about half a can of water, half a can of this, just to rinse out all the goodies that may have been left in the can and to add a little more moisture, because it is condensed, but we're not trying to make it a soup. We're using it as our base for our casserole. All right, we'll be back. The One Burner Bachelor, making a nice casserole on a dreary day high above the city. Okay, we're back, and always learning as we go. I discovered now that it's a tiny bit tricky to keep our casserole pan level or flat or even, to keep the moisture spread throughout the bottom of it. But I think we figured that out. And just one other quick thing. This is a pull tab. Many of the fans of it, I know, will be wondering, where's Angelo? How's Angelo? Did Angelo open that can for you? He uses the electric can opener, because once he gets it plugged in, all he has to do is push his arm down on the lever and he can open the cans. But he's resting today in the brat trap, taking a nap on a cold, rainy, dreary day. So I did the work on the pull tab, and that's what's in here right now. We figured out how to keep it flat enough and level enough to keep the moisture all across the bottom of the pan. And when we come back, you'll see what we've added to it and what more we're going to add to it. One Burner Bachelor, we'll be back. Okay, we're back. What is that in there that the One Burner Bachelor has added to his casserole? It is a Michelina's Salisbury steak with mashed potatoes and gravy, flavor you crave and value you love. It was $1. I added it right from frozen. Now the steam, you can see the steam is being created in the pan. We're just going to leave it on the medium heat. The beef vegetable soup that we've added some water to, of course, and we've managed again to keep the water level even and flat. And we're just going to let it do its thing. And as that starts to break up, and cook a little bit and warm up and soften through our dish, then we'll add the next step. But for now, we're going to let that do its thing for a minute. It's frozen. We'll probably flip it over once or twice, then begin to break it up and take our casserole from there. The One Burner Bachelor on a chilly day, rainy, high above the city. Okay, I'm going to try to do this the best I can with one hand on the camera. you can see here, and one hand on my wooden spoon, what the Salisbury steak and mashed potatoes, which were frozen, got warm enough for me to break apart and break up. And now, every casserole, tuna casserole I'm thinking of, I guess specifically, and anything like that, there's got to be a pasta, there's got to be a noodle, there's got to be something in there. So what are we going to add to that? All right, we're adding another $1 Michelina's Zappums macaroni and cheese. That's right. These are advertised as microwave, which is cool. Same as the Salisbury steak. All these crazy fun dishes, you know, when you're in a pinch, when you're in a jam, you microwave them. But what we're doing right here, right now, is just adding from frozen, as you can see, that $1 mac and cheese mix, which is going to take a little time to thaw. Sure it is. But we're going to baste it. It's tough to baste with a wooden spoon with slots in it. It doesn't hold much juice. But we can get it in there, just moving some of the stuff all around. And we're just going to let that hang out and simmer and break apart like the Salisbury steak and the mashed potatoes did. And we'll be back to check it out. The One Burner Bachelor making a casserole on the one burner. We'll be back. Okay, the One Burner Bachelor, we're back. Truth be told, as we're still learning as we do this, the water I added from the can of my condensed soup, the fact that the Salisbury steak and the mashed potatoes were frozen, and the fact that the macaroni and cheese was frozen, as they began to cook, they all let off more moisture, more liquid, and more water, which does not make a casserole. So, breaking one of my own rules, I absolutely drained a good amount of the water and the juice out of the casserole to get it to not be as thin and not really be a soup, but be a casserole. But it looks like, and so, yes, that's breaking my own rule because there's flavor in there, but I do have it to add back. So if this doesn't get casserole-like, which just doesn't look like it's gonna, maybe another package of macaroni and cheese or whatever else, then we're gonna have a beef noodle fabulous soup today for lunch for everybody instead of a casserole. So it's there simmering away doing its thing. I really can't see how it's gonna thicken unless we just let more and more and more of the liquid evaporate. I could add a packet of maybe chicken gravy mix or beef gravy mix, the powdered mix that totally acts as a roux and will thicken this, but I don't have one. So it smells good. You can see it bubbling, it's simmering away, and after it gets cooked and bubbling, I'll then decide if I'm going to add some more moisture to it to make it a soup for everybody, or if it's actually thick enough to maybe put in a bowl and just kind of eat as a casserole. But we're going to find out. The One Burner Bachelor, high above the city. $1 for the mac and cheese, 65 cents for the condensed beef vegetable soup, and $1 for the Salisbury steak. 69 cents for the casserole pan, and 50 cents for my cheap roll of aluminum foil, which I only had to use a couple of pieces. All right, we're still learning. The One Burner Bachelor. We'll be back.